The challenges the two teams face is expectation versus internal timelines. We had to continuously keep managing expectations on the client side and internal issues.
Whenever there is a deal which involves some feature request, we are there to help them, and they help us in getting feedback from customers.
Trying to create an ecosystem with the product to achieve the maximum level of digitization with the clients. We find the gaps, take it to the product team, sit together and see why this gap is important to be filled.
When we are trying to build a product, it takes a lot of expertise to design a product. You have to understand what product team is trying to say, and then you translate those into technical specifications and figure out what all fits into the technical framework and what doesn't fit in.
Since sales team is closer to the client in terms of understanding the ground realities, it's very imperative that sales team passes on this feedback to the product in a way where the product team can look at what can be the most high priority to be embedded that can actually change the course of business.
We work with support marketing product. Challenge has been that you're getting so much feedback, what to build and what not to build.
Marketing and sales, that's been the oldest collaboration. The problem we were trying to solve is that we operate in a heavily competitive market. So deals are lost, one of the finest of margins. How do we make sure those margins work in our favor? Build credibility with the buying committee.
With the recruitment, talent acquisition, you have to be very hands-on with the hiring managers, understand the requirements, find that one person who matches the vision of the hiring manager, fulfills the requirement, and also fits in cultural. Needs to be end-to-end involved from the screening the CV to the actually getting onboarded into the company. There are so many touch points.
Partnership team has to collaborate with product marketing sales team for different functions. If it's a product partnership, it's the product team who does the integration. And once the integration is live, it's the partnership team who takes care of the GTM motion, right? We need the support of marketing team.
Because there was micro data services and macro services that had to be changed to provide this development to the client. And since we were also looking at enhancing legalities product experience, we decided to provide this.
The focus has been solving problems at a more systemic level, building agile, robust systems which can scale.
We started working on Lens, the data discovery products. We required multiple expertise. A lot of products were simply API driven systems wherein there was no machine learning involved. This happens to be a product wherein you have to build machine learning models that do document identification and a lot of complex stuff. And at the same time, you also had to build a system that is API driven. So you have to support both the things. You have to use all the technology related knowledge that I have had so far.
There have been instances where we have collaborated a lot with the product team by ensuring that they are participating on the client calls so that they can hear what problem statements they have, how we can rationally design a strategy at the product level.
You have every single senior stakeholder from their end. We front end a lot of things. Our responsibility is to set the expectations with the client. Product at the same time, their expertise is in terms of designing, in terms of building what the client is asking for.
We collaboratively solve for certain challenges by product team being involved in integration, partnership team doing the GTM work with the support of marketing team who helps with events, webinars, joint collateral.
The disagreements happened in our delivery timelines versus client expectations.
Because we are servicing clients, at the end of the day, they are people. With regards to the product team, a client would usually say that I really want this and I want this in 2 weeks. But from a product sense, it will need 3 months. At that point, how do you client expectation management? How do you do escalation management?
If you think about it, wherever there are opinions related to two different entities, there are going to be disagreements because somebody thinks of something in a certain way and the other person thinks of other way. Right? Closing that gap and reaching to a mid ground is what is required in almost every product.
When the product team is not able to comprehend the customer psyche, which the sales team can, because by the virtue of them being closer to the client and understanding their processes. So that is where I think sometimes a disconnect.
They keep coming up with a lot of infosec requests, which is primarily only for them. Whenever I discuss this with product, they would say that this is something that we cannot do because they might be planning to do this in the new structure. You tell the client to wait a little. Once this migration is done, it will automatically be available. But the client wants this today. So often these kind of things can become a point of friction.
Seller partnerships in place, and we also have our sales team who's working to get clients on board. Sometimes it happens that there is a specific client that is already on board with the reseller partner, and they also want to use Legality's document execution platform because our platform is already integrated on their platform and they already have a direct connect with the client. That significantly brings down the turnaround timeline. But from a sales perspective, given that they have also done their work to solution the client, no matter how hard they try, they probably may not be in a position to provide the best expertise to the client, given we are the experts of our product. Right? So that's where some sort of disagreement happens.
It was more important to get it right than get it fast, because you do not want to do a job that does not solve the problem of the client.
It's about finding solutions. So when you talk about ownership, you are talking about not letting obstacles demotivate.
We need to understand where they're coming from and they need to understand where we are coming from. At the end of the day, people need to be convinced.
Considering the scale of lens, we had to take a lot of design related or architectural related decisions. So you cannot build lens how you build other technologies, or you had to think out of the box and think of a lot of complex use cases wherein you had to be very innovative about how do you solve that particular problem. When you change something from backend implementation, everything changes on front end also. We had a lot of disagreements around how certain components of the product should be designed, and we did a lot of brainstorming around that.
I think with a bit of reasoning and with a bit of conviction that you can pull this off. I think sales always work that magic out, where we are in the business of actually convincing people
what to communicate to the client, and then we often go on calls to justify our reasoning.
Our CSM couldn't handle that one particular point because that was out of the scope. And our InfoSec team really helped on such short notices. They could join the call. It is not easy because even they are working with hundreds of other clients, InfoSec queries.
Sales team is also connected with the client directly. So we decide the timeline and our sales team does the job of onboarding the client till that particular timeline. We incentivize the sales team also because they are the ones who have done on-ground solutioning. At the same time, we want to route this engagement through the partner because we want to be enablers for our partners.
I understand the problem really well, exactly how the client wants, and the way the evaluation of the problem is done and how quickly the timeline is given.
That patience and continuous support.
You have to think about something and bring it to reality. That's what product does.
It needs to have a growth mindset and should be thinking about the larger picture.
They never say no.
How they want those learning systems in place includes like marketing and sales both, so they are heavily involved in the learning content creation.
I don't understand how marketing team makes collateral in a couple of hours. Like, they have some documentation in place and they actually deliver ahead of time.
Mission impossible.
This project was so sprawling and it took so much time. I'd say that it's like a TV show that spanned multiple seasons than a movie.
I would say Chuck the India. There's a lot of chaos in taking the client live and it's a very long process. But I think eventually we will.
I'll call it Matrix.
I would say hum saath saath hai.
For such a situation as Wolf of Wall Street.
Baby's day out, where this baby is just on a construction site.
With regard to the product team, they have a very collaborative attitude.
I think that patience and continuous support.
Curious, knowledgeable, approachable.
Like never lose heart.
Marketing, they are highly creative because we street smart.
They prioritize things really well. They're very efficient.